Thousands of tons of goods are driven across Ireland's roads every day on large, heavy trucks. They're dangerous and dirty, and there seems to be more of them every day. But there is a better way. Before cars took over, trains were the single biggest form of transport in Ireland, and there were rail lines everywhere. Over the years, freight moved from rail onto the roads. But there is good news. The construction of a new rail link in Dublin Port has brought rail freight back to life. Howard Knott of the Irish Exporters Association sees the potential of a new approach to rail transport. Howard, over 99% of our freight is delivered by truck on the roads. Is that the only way?
No, Duncan, it isn't. I mean, if you think back 20, 25 years ago, the huge volumes of freight that was moved by rail. Ireland was, in fact, the pioneer where you had container trains running from Waterford to literally all corners of Ireland overnight. And it was a marvellously efficient system. It was let die for a number of reasons.
So how low did our rail freight go?
It went to about 0.3% of the total freight being moved. So an absolutely tiny percentage. What you see behind you here, Duncan, at the moment is a container train being loaded for Ballina. These will be loaded in Ballina with cargo, brought back to Dublin, put aboard a ship and sent to Europe.
How many trucks does it take off the road?
It can take anything up to 36 trucks, depending on the configuration of the train. So if you have 5 trains a week, as you presently have running between here and Ballina, that's a very substantial number of trucks.
So there's obviously big benefits now in reducing all this rail freight off the road. But what's the benefit for now the big exporting companies in Ireland?
Obviously they have to compete on price, which is very important. They have to compete on the quality of the product. But companies are having to show their green credentials. The low carbon footprint is very important in the boardroom of the major multinational manufacturers. So if you can use rail freight, which is 5 times more carbon efficient than road, you're beginning to move in the right direction.
So if you take other ports like Tralee or say Athenry in the west, could these be developed the same way now as Ballina?
There's absolutely no practical reason why they couldn't. I think crucially important is that there has always been a situation in Ireland that rail freight has not been subsidised. It has been purely standing on its own feet. And it has indeed in the last number of years made a profit for Irish Rail. Every mode of transport has to pay its full costs, and whether it's a ship, whether it's a train, whether it's a truck, because it'll no longer be a viable operation to load a truck somewhere in Ireland, run it across Britain to deliver into Holland. It'll become far too expensive. Much better to load it somewhere in Ireland, put it on a train, run it to a port. It's green in a certain way, but it's also going to be more practical and more economical.
And if you take, say, road freight, is that being subsidised?
You could argue that, Duncan, when you look at the investment that's been made in the roads, which are the new motorways and all of that, and you say, well, yes, there are tolls on them, but do the tolls cover the full cost? I think European policy and European wisdom says no, they don't cover the full cost. We have seen a tremendous improvement over the last few years. We have a rail network that's been there for the best part of 200 years. It's very good. It's quite extensive by European standards. The issue now is to make the best use of that network and to ensure that nothing is done that would make it less effective in years to come.
Colin Dunn's company, IWT, were the prime movers in breathing new life into the rail freight business in Ireland. Spotting an opportunity, they raised funding and took a bold commercial risk. Colin, why did you get into the rail freight business here in Ireland?
There was a lot of rail track that wasn't being used for rail freight at all. We saw the rail as an opportunity to move freight from one side of the country to the other, and we saw that there was a competitive advantage to the customers, and importers and exporters. This is an island, we're surrounded by water, we have to be very competitive. We have to find ways to get on and off this island as competitively as possible. We charter the trains from Irish Rail. We pay a fixed fee for the locomotives and the wagons, and then we sell the space to everybody in the market.
Colin's gamble has paid off for his company, for the rail network and for the environment, taking dozens of trucks off the road every week. That's the kind of smart thinking and public-private partnership we need to guarantee that our transport system is ready for a future less dependent on oil. In Ireland, almost half of all of our journeys are less than 4 kilometres. That's 10 minutes by bicycle. In Amsterdam, over 50% of all journeys are by bicycle. In Ireland, it's only 2 out of every 100. The main problem is that cycling lanes are insufficient and badly kept all over the country. There are rarely any contraflows in the one-way traffic system, and little thought for cyclists when roads are designed. Even so, there's a lot more buzz about cycling these days. An Taisce are running a great Cycle to School programme to get children involved from the start. And the Dublin Bike Scheme is so successful, it looks like it could and should extend to the rest of the country. And more people on bikes is one of the cheapest and easiest ways to cut down on our emissions and improve the quality of life in our bigger cities. The benefits of a good bus system are obvious. One bus carrying dozens of people is far better than dozens of cars clogging up the road and producing more emissions. But the public bus services here in Ireland continue to have a bad reputation.
They're not really that frequent anymore, do you know what I mean? So it's a bit of a nightmare to try and get the bus. They're every 25 minutes now. Bit of a disaster.
The new system is great with the digital numbers, and you can see when it comes, but sometimes it's not always right.
The times are very variable. Sometimes it's early, sometimes it's very late.
James Nix is an economist and transport consultant. He has campaigned on this subject for years. James, what do we need to do in Ireland to fix our public transport?
Duncan, we've cancelled all the big ticket items. Those huge public transport projects are gone. Somewhere between 20 and 30,000 families have shed second cars. Fuel prices are due to go up about another third over the next 2 to 3 years. We need to get our bus networks working. We have to do that quickly. Unless and until we do that, people are still going to be waiting at bus stops. They're still going to be in their cars. Bus provides us with the opportunity to give people a solution quickly. In Dublin, we already have real-time passenger information. So that's 500 bus stops have been equipped with timers showing you when the next bus will arrive. That's a really welcome development. But in terms of comprehensive all-weather shelters, they're still awaited. High-frequency bus routes, they're still awaited. So we've so much more still to do in our cities.
What about other cities like Cork, Galway, Limerick?
Cork, for example, is due to get real-time passenger information. That's those countdown timers sometime in 2012. Limerick is due to follow on afterwards, as is Galway. So those developments that have been rolled out in Dublin are being delivered in the regional cities. Again, more pressure is needed, local political pressure, to make sure those developments happen.
Where are we with integrated ticketing?
There'll be a period of adjustment. It'll be difficult for some people, but overall it'll bring a huge improvement. I mean, it was first proposed in 1913. So it's been almost 100 years in arriving.
Why is it all moving so slow?
There's a sense of, oh, well, we'll keep doing things the way we've always done them. We need to have the courage of our convictions. We need to go out there and say, look, a low-speed environment is more important than getting through town at top speed. And that low-speed environment, it encourages a more civil space. You know, we can get a little bit philosophical, but a civil space is somewhere where a child on a tricycle can navigate with ease and safety. And we need to create those environments in our towns and cities.
Improving bus services isn't just a matter of routes and information. There's also the fundamental question of the fuel we use to run the bus. James, what's the best option for us for changing from diesel for buses?
The most promising development from a bus point of view is hybrid buses. So what happens there is that the bus vehicle uses 1/3 less fuel than a conventional vehicle. It's very much like the bus answer to the Toyota Prius. There's more than 100 already in London. Unfortunately, there's only one in Dublin. 1 out of 1,000 double-decker buses is a diesel-electric hybrid. So we need to increase those numbers. Diesel-electric hybrids are simple. It's a simple technology. It's a proven technology. The vehicles themselves are built in Wrightbus in Ballymena, so it's supporting our own in some sense. It's just up the road.
Time wasted on unreliable public transport is just that, wasted time. Derek Bryan of Fleetmatics has a simple solution that will cost very little and is already installed in many commercial transport fleets.
We fit a box to each vehicle that records the locations and activities of that vehicle 24/7. That information is hosted on the internet and you can access from any internet connection. A passenger at a bus stop would be enabled through a smartphone or a PDA device or an iPhone, be able to see where the nearest bus is. You can see when it's going to arrive, you can see the speed that it's travelling at, and other relevant information maybe about that vehicle or about traffic or weather conditions in the area. The technology is there and the capability to save money is there if they decide to take that route.
While Dublin Bus has its own smartphone apps, they don't let you see exactly where your bus is on a map or street view. The technology is developing quickly. We have to keep up. People are willing to change the way they travel if they're given options that make sense. Aoife Rafferty and Damien Doherty are long-distance commuters and work in Temple Street Hospital, which operates the TaxSaver scheme. They switched from cars to public transport and now buy their monthly or yearly tickets through the hospital, saving up to 50% of the cost.
It was costing me about €300 a month to take the car in on petrol alone, where now it's only costing me approximately €80 a month. I think I'm probably saving about an hour and a half to 2 hours on a daily basis. And being a working mum, that's very important to me.
In the year, I would be saving €2,400.
It's fantastic we have that TaxSaver scheme set up by Travelways here.
The fitness level has increased since I started using the Dart and the Dublin bikes.
I still don't understand why people would use a car when there is that sort of service available.
Teresa Kilmartin also made a choice to get out of the car.
I just tried to investigate what my options were. We actually have a train station about 100 yards from the house, Killucan, which is a disused train station, but it's the direct line going up to Dublin. I then looked at the bus options, and I can get a bus from Kinnegad, which is about 4 miles away, and that'll get me to Dublin in about an hour and 10 minutes. I sit in the bus, somebody else does the driving, I listen to my radio, and I can switch off. But it means I have more time with the kids, and also by the time I get home I'm not as stressed or I'm not as uptight. The bus is very, very reasonable. It's about €8 return a day. If you think about parking, you think about petrol, you think of wear and tear in your car, there's no way you could do it for that money a week. I have 2 young girls, and it's nice to be able to be home and be able to spend more time with them.
Well, Teresa, is there anything that would make it better?
Well, Duncan, if they opened the train station in Killucan, that would be absolutely brilliant.
Ireland needs a cohesive strategy to replace oil in our transport system. As we've seen, there are clever, innovative, high-tech, low-tech and downright no-tech answers to the challenges we face. The changes we need to make have to be kick-started now if we're to achieve a sustainable and healthy future. Bright new ideas are coming all the time. We just have to get on board.